Hi, if you've found this video, I hope that it helps you. I'm Michelle, I'm 20 years old, and I have suffered from bulimia for 5 years. This is my story. I first threw up when I was 15 and a half, and I can't recall the very first time I forced myself to throw out my food, but I remember my sophomore year of high school, and I was with my first real boyfriend that I really, really liked. And thinking after I had thrown up, he shouldn't be with someone who's crazy. And I feel that that relationship made me really happy and held me together and kept me from fully falling into bulimia at first. But unfortunately, my insecurities, which were seeded from a lot of teasing in middle school and possibly even a food addiction growing up, which I could go into that origin, but it would just take a whole lot of time. So if there's any questions, I'll do a video on how I feel that processed food and teasing also, help to sprout this eating disorder in me. But pretty much, I internalized all these horrible things that were told to me growing up, and I believed them, and I had a terrible self-image of myself. I felt that I was fat and I was ugly and I wasn't worth loving. So when I was with this boy in my sophomore year in high school, I that I mean our love at the time wasn't enough to save me. I would eventually mess things up by cheating on him with another boy. I went skinny dipping and I let this other boy kiss me and touch me, even if I thought about my boyfriend while this happened. So the breakup was a mixture of terrible pain, but also I'm free to do whatever I wanted now. Now I can go and do what I saw kids on TV doing. Be one of those kids that your parents warned you about. Now I can go and try weed and alcohol at the same time. So yeah, I became a pothead after that. I became very promiscuous. I started trying to mimic this sort of sex, drugs, and rock and roll neo age sort of facade. And I was watching Gossip Girl at the time. I was coming out of my shell, and people wanted to hang out with me. So I definitely dove into the partying scene at the time. I didn't rave, I didn't go to EDC, but I started going to backyard gigs. I started drinking 40s with my friends. I started drinking hard liquor with some what are they called? Well, at the time I made friends with kids that were older. So I started becoming friends with juniors, and then say kids that had already graduated high school. I actually started making friends with some 18 and 19-year-olds from the same town, and I befriended one of my best friends even to this day, Jesse, who didn't have parental guidance at the time. His parents just weren't ever home, so I was going to a lot of house parties. I was drinking at my best friend's garage a lot, and I started sleeping around as well. I started doing things that I thought would make me happy, and unfortunately, I binge drank as well. So a lot of bad things happened. A lot of decisions that I still live with to this day. So I started being a hooligan. Actually, I started breaking and entering into schools with my friends. Started just roaming the streets at night, getting wasted, jumping into pools, breaking into places. I already said that, but I there was a lot of fun, to be honest, but it also stopped being fun for a while. Waking up miles away from home, passing out, not knowing what happened, losing nights of your life when you're only given so many. It's really sad. So I started throwing up at this time. I mean, it wasn't a weekly thing, it wasn't an everyday thing, but from the time I was 15 and a half till I was 17, it was a periodic, okay, if I ate too much, I'm just gonna go throw it up, and I can stop whenever I wanted. And although I didn't like exercising at all, because I never did, all that junk I was putting into my body just while I was exercising just not did not make me feel great. Um, well, I started to walk a lot. I lived far from school, so I lived 4 miles away, so I started to walk. Started to be a little bit more healthy, and more conscious of my health. So I try to say not healthy. And little by little, I did drop some weight, but my bulimic tendencies actually started to heighten. And at the time, I felt too fat to have an eating disorder. So when I was ready to tell friends, which only happened when I was drunk, I felt really ashamed. Like, I wasn't this thick, skinny girl. Like, what was I crying about? What the hell was I doing? I didn't know anything about eating disorders at the time, so I didn't know that you didn't have to stick to this one mold. But definitely, I ended up throwing up when I drank a lot and I ate. And when I told friends, I couldn't even talk about it for very long. It was, hey, I'm drunk, and this happens with me, and I'm starting to get marks on my hands, and that's it. If they were to ask any questions about it, I just kind of shut down. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. So 18 happens, and I'm still a little crazy. I remember my 18th birthday. That was pretty bad because I disappointed my family. I still feel bad about that to this day. I went out and I got drunk with friends, and I got so drunk. I hate Bacardi to this day because of that night. I remember my friend and I were making food, and she specifically told me, better not puke this up later. My heart sank at that. Like, wow, this really is a thing with me. But I got so wasted that I was taken to my grandparents' house in a shopping cart. I had passed out for a bit, and I tried to make a move on my best friend. But to be fair, she liked me. So, um, yeah. And I didn't go home, and I kept my family waiting with a cake for me the entire night. I didn't tell them where I was. So obviously I had some issues. I wasn't really communicating so well, and I was a little off. So that's one example of a night in my life growing up. I would graduate high school with honors, and I was that kid that showed up hungover sometimes, and on very rare occasions did I actually take weed with me on school grounds, but I was scared too. I was still pretty innocent when it came to that. But I mean, my friends snuck in shrooms to prom. I took an eighth of weed. I mean, I didn't know how to have fun without vices. And it was, I mean, for the most part, I was on top of my shit. I knew where I was going in life. But as admissions letters came in from universities, I panicked. I freaked. I gave in to my anxiety. I didn't even know I suffered from anxiety until recently. So I realized this is what it feels like. This is why I never take those certain leaps in life. This is what's been holding me back. This was a side effect of bulimia. And so I decided to stay home and go to community college and get a job instead. I ended up getting my first job at 18, right after high school, literally within the same month of graduation. And I was to work in a cafe slash restaurant. This didn't seem like such a problem to me because, I don't know, I mean, I guess I didn't fully accept the fact that I was bulimic. I didn't. I still thought that it was something under my control. And my bulimia didn't come to interfere in my academic or work life until that winter, the winter of 2014. I was working at the beach. Like I said, this cafe slash restaurant. I was working with some friends from the same high school I went to, and we working on Venice Beach, so there was locals and great culture and community there, and we were able to get high. It was Pothead Central. It was a cross between Seinfeld and Clerks. I love that job. And so I was getting high with my coworkers before, after, and during work, and drinking with them on occasion afterwards. And even my supervisor was someone that I had previously gotten drunk with at my best friend's garage, at Jesse's garage. So, I mean, he wasn't going to hire me at first because he saw how drunk I used to get. But when he saw that I was a hard worker, I, you know, I got my first job. So that winter, one night, as I was supposed to go out with my coworkers for a fun night of drinking, I I couldn't decide on what to wear. I kept changing my clothes. I kept looking in the mirror and realized that no matter what I put on, I couldn't hide my bulge of a stomach. And that was the night that I had decided I was done being the chubby chick. And since then, I started throwing up all my meals, started to kind of restrict my caloric intake, but I wasn't counting calories. I was just trying to be healthier. I started cutting out meat, and so I started to shed the weight. I got a lot of compliments after that. A lot of people noticed I was dropping, sodium levels, arm, water weight, just everything. And I thought that that would make me happy, just like I thought partying would make me happy, and being promiscuous and being wanted by friends and potential lovers. No, I started throwing up at work uncontrollably, started throwing up at school, started throwing up in parks. It was, I mean, I couldn't get food out of my head. I remember thinking this would be the last time I'm going to throw up at work. I'm not going to do it anymore. But the next day, it would be so hard not to. So, I hit my lowest weight when I was about 19. And I stopped getting my period for a bit. And I knew I was losing hair. And by then, I was at my wit's end. And I told my mom. I ended up quitting my job and taking a little break from school between the spring and fall semester. And that was about the worst thing that I could do at the time, because I didn't get help for my bulimia. I ended up staying at home and spending all this money that I had saved for school and for a future road trip, and I spent it on fast food, and I spent it on binging and purging up to 3 times a day, and just spending all this time with my head down the toilet. It wasn't until my academics started to suffer that I finally decided I had had enough. What happened was, my last year with bulimia was pretty terrible. So after I quit my job, I was still continuing school, and I couldn't get a grip on the bad habits. So comes the winter of 2015, and I put on some weight because I was afraid of not having enough minerals and losing my hair and losing my period. So I wanted to make sure I had all those vitamins in me, and potassium and iron, sodium. So around this time, I met another boy who actually helped me a lot throughout my first kind of recovery attempt. I was with this person for 5 months, and with him, I mean, I was my happiest. I was able to eat and keep food down. I started to see myself in a different light. And even though I never told him I was bulimic, I told him I was in recovery for an eating disorder. And he never asked much about it. He didn't. He just was just kind of like a guiding figure. He didn't need to know the workings of it. He was just there for me until he wasn't. Until one day he just started ignoring me and decided he'd had enough of this. And that really sucks. But I'm glad that that happened. So, yeah, another boy, and this time this one hurt me, had helped me and then gone. And I was able to hold my own ground for about 2 months after he left, and I just slipped again. The summer of 2016 was the beginning of my breaking point. I took 2 summer classes, and I was ready to finally transfer out of community college after 2.5 long years. It was during this time that I'd gotten my license and I fell back into old habits. I was going to smoke, drink, party, and fuck my way out of this horrendous breakup. The day before the fall semester starts, I end up getting into a car accident. I went out drinking, and this boy that I had started fooling around with just that night, an old former acquaintance from band, actually, high school, kind of assaulted me, and I got scared and took off when I shouldn't have. And the next day I'm at school, and I got cuts on my face, and my body's in shock for about the first week at least of school. I took on too many classes, I changed my major, and my eating disorder just went out of hand. And that I failed after failing my first college course and realizing I couldn't transfer out, and then the holidays coming with all this food around me. I lost it. I lost it to the point where I I had had enough. I was done doing things I didn't want to do anymore. I was done partying with my friends and getting so wasted. I ended up just starting to drink and pass out. It wasn't even drinking and oh, I could remember some stuff, or it started to become drinking, and I'm glad I passed out before I threw up. I'm glad I passed out before someone took advantage of me. So that that's when I realized I wasn't happy anymore. That I was making myself insane. I was saying it to myself so much that I was it was becoming true, and I didn't I didn't want it anymore. I didn't want to be the crazy girl anymore. I finally wanted to be normal. I wanted out. But this eating disorder and this thinking that I wasn't normal was a mold that I had crafted and put myself in for so long. I didn't even really know who I was without it. And it wasn't until now that I fully had the strength to tell all my friends, I need space. I need to love myself. I need to eat a meal and sit down and scream if I have to because I feel full and I can't go throw up. I need to go through all that. I had to go through sugar withdrawals. I had to go through all this so that I can finally be okay because I was done. And it's a struggle for me now, even in recovery, because I have this fear of becoming grossly overweight. And I don't know how to stop eating after I'm full, and I don't know how to not stop thinking about food all day. But it'll happen. And each day that I keep the ball rolling and I'm a week without throwing up, or a week and a half, it helps. And even if I slip up, I have the power to stop. That there's a beautiful online recovery community, and there are stories online I can read, and there is my journal, which I will show you right now. There is this journal that I was just so afraid to look into for so long that, I mean, I have all these tools to help me. I even have medical insurance. If I want to go see a therapist or a dietitian, I can do that, but I don't have a car anymore, and, co-payments, and it's very far from me, and honestly, I tried making an appointment, and I have Kaiser, and they tried giving me an appointment with a psychiatrist like a month from the day that I called, and I'm like, no, I need help right now. So I'm on the path to self-healing, and I know that is possible. So I hope this story helped you. I know it probably wasn't the best storytelling of mine, and I can do way better. I know I can. But please do comment, let me know what you think, good or bad. I wish you all the best of luck, and I look forward to making an update video.